Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we're taking apart the world of Star Wars Lego brick by brick.
Ooh, I like what you did there. Today we are discussing Star Wars Lego Rebuild the Galaxy Part 3. This episode had its Disney Plus debut on September 13th, 2024. Not too long ago.
Very recently. It was written by Mendez and Benji Salmon, and once again directed by Chris Buckley. I've seen lots of cool Lego sets for this show. I still want them. As we were watching this episode, I looked over and noticed that my son was holding his Akbar Trooper and his Jedi Bob minifig, just like watching the show. So it was a very wholesome. We've got our regular cast back, of course, and we have a couple of new people, new old people showing back up, let's say. We have Naomi Aki, who's reprising her role as Jedi Jaina from The Rise of Skywalker. So that's kind of a, I wouldn't say deep cut necessarily, but it's kind of cool to see them pulling in like a character from that one movie. You know what I mean?
I would say deep, unnecessary.
Well, okay. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I will say something that I've been enjoying about this is how, it seems like as a modern Star Wars fan, you become very selective about this is the Star Wars I like and this is the Star Wars that I don't like.
Yeah.
I appreciate about these Lego things that they are embracing all eras and like avenues of Star Wars evenly. I mean, we're bringing in prequels, OG, we're bringing in sequels, and I like that. I like that they're all just tossing them in there. Maybe you get it, maybe you don't, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but it's all Star Wars, and I think that's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah.
We got Kelly Marie Tran as Darth Rose Tico. We saw her last time, but she had a little bit to say this time.
Mm-hmm.
Shelby Young is back as Leia. She's been voicing Leia since Forces of Destiny in 2017. Although she is a good voice for young Leia, but she did not have an old Leia.
Yeah, that was not great.
No, it was kind of weird, but I do really like her version of Leia in like the Skywalker Saga video game, Forces of Destiny, so. But as soon as Leia opened her mouth, I was like, no, that's not what the Leia sounds like at all. But, we got a lot more of a Mod Best as Jar Jar. That's for sure.
We did.
And, of course, Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Our featured cast member this time is Tony Revolori. Tony voices Dev in the series. He previously starred alongside Warwick Davis, the original Wicket, in the Disney Plus series Willow. In the series, he played Graydon Hastier, the Prince of Galadorn, but I have to just take the word Wikipedia for that because we're not allowed to watch that show.
No one will ever see it again. I honestly wonder how many saw it because, isn't that crazy that, maybe 30,000 people saw it or 300,000? We don't know.
No idea.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Listen, I've seen a lot of bad stuff, but nothing is that bad. I mean, there's no way it could be that bad that it had to be taken off. I think you're right. Didn't you say something like it had to be paying the actors or something like that per views or something?
Got to be some financial thing where if they don't have it on, they're saving money. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I watched the first episode and was like, okay, yeah, let's watch it, And I definitely would have watched it all by now if I was allowed to, but I'm not. So, classic Disney, right? Remember, this harkens back to the Disney Vault, and I remember seeing Oliver and Company in theaters, and then it wasn't on home video. They weren't airing it. It was I feel like I went 10 years without seeing Oliver and Company. They used to do this crap all the time, so I guess it's really nothing.
Yeah. It's going in the vault. I remember that and being okay. Right? Yeah, Snow White's going in the vault. It's like, really? Oh, yeah, your first one ever? Yeah, that's never going to happen.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I know, but you get those commercials, though, and it would be like this nice new clamshell VHS case. And before it goes back into the Disney Vault, get your copy of Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True. So,
marketing, the masters of marketing and distributing. That's one thing Disney is good at for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's benefits to being pop culture's evil overlord.
Yeah, that's true. So before when I tried to interject, I was kind of building on what you were saying about the whole story and stuff, and that it's funny. I was coming into this episode thinking I'm really glad this story is not revolving around the traditional characters, like Luke and Leia, Han, Rey, Kylo Ren, which I'm guessing Kylo Ren is just the dev part. He's not in it right now, so like I'm guessing
I was thinking we're not seeing Finn either. I mean, we're
not seeing Finn.
or
Yeah.
Poe. I mean, it's really just like Rey.
Oh, yeah. Rose and Ray.
Yeah,
Interesting. But I was thinking about that, and then of course, almost a minute in, then no, not even a minute. 30 seconds in, Skywalker comes in.
yeah.
And I was like, oh no, is this? But then they then get put to the wayside again, which is great, and I thought in a very funny way.
Yeah.
But I'll have to talk about that part because I didn't actually write it into the thing that Sig tells Vader and Leia and Luke their history from his universe. And they're like, yeah, well, we're not going on the mission because they're just like, what? I'm your what? I just thought that this story is so good because I don't think I've been captivated by a story this good and it not be starring one of the main saga characters.
Yeah.
Which is wild, right? To even think about. I mean, like when it comes to like even the cartoons, I wasn't like this except maybe Rebels. That was pretty good.
A Rebel.
But yeah, I mean, but even like Clone Wars, I feel like I just got fatigued during that show. But yeah, how about I just take us out?
Give me that story.
I'll give you that uber detailed plot of Rebuild the Galaxy Part 3.
That felt sexual for a minute there, so I'm glad you.
Oh yeah.
Which also sounded sexual. You know what? I think just read it. I think just read the synopsis.
I'll read it because there's something that sounds sexual in there too. So
go ahead.
All right. We start right back up where we left off from part 2. Darth Dev and Jedi Bob are in a forced tug of war. Darth Jar Jar and company move in, distracting Jedi Bob enough for him to win the tug of war. His victory is short-lived when Luke blasts in on his pod racer and snatches the cornerstone out of Dev's hands. Trying to escape through the city, the group is blasted by the Dark Falcon's super laser. Thinking they escaped, they are confronted by Darth Jar Jar once again. Though he is so easily dispatched, even Bob thinks Darth Jar Jar is ridiculous. The group escapes Tatooine entirely and head to a lone planet inhabited by the remaining Jedi. The Jedi Council is comprised of Vader, the Emperor, Cad Bane, IG-88, Jabba, Lobot, and Jannah. Sig and Bob convince the Council to help them after Sig is able to use the Force to find the new hidden Jedi temple on Dagobah. His premonition troubles him as his friends are also in trouble. Little do we know their plans are known to Dev due to an unknown spy amongst them. Leia arrives with Maul, who successfully reached the rebellion. He wasn't bad after all, or is he? Han and Greedo also arrive in Boba Fett's Slave One, though Greedo is the hero and boyfriend to Leia.
Oh,
what a twist.
Yeah.
The group uses Slave One to infiltrate the heavily guarded Dagobah base, while the Jedi Council ship will be a distraction. The plan fails almost immediately as the Council ship has been sabotaged. Yessi acts quickly and hurdles Slave One at the planet's surface without its engines on. They can't detect you if there's no energy to detect. Very clever. She reignites the engines just in time to land safely, sort of. Once on the surface of Dagobah, they run into a hidden prison, which is why Dagobah is so heavily guarded. The prisoners are the rebels. Yessi accidentally got captured. The group splits up. Yessi, Han, and Greedo go bust the rebels out, while Sig and Bob move on to find the temple. Sig and Bob find the temple, which was hidden under a smaller temple. Clever. At the prison, the group manages to bust in undetected. Before they get away, Han reveals himself as the spy, telling them Darth Dev is on the way. We all thought it was Maul.
Mm-hmm.
Back at the new temple, Sig finds the resting place for the cornerstone, but Dev is already there in the shadows. Dev presses Bob to reveal the truth about the cornerstone and the galaxy. You see, Bob foolishly removed the cornerstone from his galaxy, scrambling everything he knew and forming the universe we know and love. The galaxy Sig is from is no longer able to be restored as much as Bob's universe is. The new, quote, real galaxy is the one they are currently in now. Sig is torn between the lies of the Jedi and the rage of Dev. Dev is furious, Sig won't join him and lashes out with the Force. Before Sig is struck, Servo jumps in, taking the full force of Dev's blast, causing him to sadly break apart. Perhaps out of foolishness or out of a desire to save his friends, Sig relinquishes the cornerstone to Dev. Bob protests, but Sig promises to save him. However, Dev doesn't return the cornerstone. He has even bigger plans. Roll credits.
So we only got one more of these. This is the penultimate episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be on the same page about this, but I thought this one was a bit of a quality drop from the previous two. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you think so? I actually I feel like I kind of agree with you on that. Like too much was happening. This was like finally an episode where the story was being driven, right? They kind of had that first episode, which was la la la. The second episode kind of introduced the concept of everything, right? It introduced key characters and kind of the key players and what's going on, right? So that made that interesting. This one kind of was like, all right, the story is progressing, but there was quite a lot of distraction. And I think a lot of distraction with like the council, a lot of distraction with Yesie's deal in the prison base. I don't know how that's gonna come around, but that's like it seemed like it was just too silly, right? So there was a moment where I was kind of like, this is really corny all of a sudden. This is really yeah. So yeah, like I think so. I think this as far as the concept of the story, that improved.
Yeah.
Like drastically in it.
I feel like, I mean, they had to get the legacy characters in there, but I feel like
Yeah.
we've had them kind of sprinkled in the first two episodes was a little bit more natural. And this was like, we got Han and Leia and all that. Then we got all the, the bad guys being the good Jedis and stuff. And it was just like, I don't know, trying to pack in all those sight gags while still trying to move the narrative along. To me, I was just kind of like, what are we doing? So, I mean,
Yeah.
it was fine. I just comparing it to the last two, which I felt like were just on this upward trajectory. I was kind of like, okay. But I think that's pretty common. I guess Star Wars is the one
Yeah.
that kind of goes in the opposite direction, where Empire is like kind of the best one. But I feel like typically the entry before the end, you have to have sort of a lull so you can amp back up to a finale, and maybe that's all this is.
Yeah, the thing too I thought of was, especially when we saw the council, I didn't think of it until we saw that like, for the most part, all of the good people are evil and all the evil people are good.
Right.
And I don't like that. Wouldn't it would have been great if like the Emperor was bad and Vader was good, or vice versa, or like some characters still maintain that they were good and some were evil, and
or
just to mix it up.
It's like what they did with Luke. Like they didn't make Luke evil; they made him kind of like a stoner loser. So like,
Yeah, just not part of it. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe they could have done something where like Vader or the Emperor were still bad, but they were more like rough smuggler kind of bad, and not like and like maybe something like that would have been interesting. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, we're kind of dancing around what was my Ichiwawa moment. So do you want to?
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
The reveal of Leia, like when we see the Boba Fett ship landing and it opens up and it's Leia and she kind of looks like you expect her to look, and we get the classic like Han Leia theme, like the John Williams score, like coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my favorite character. And so like seeing Leia and having the music and having Leia be kind of like the only one who sort of feels the same in both worlds just felt
Yes, General.
yeah,
General.
felt really right. That like she kind of like, the North Star in all of the different, the sequels and the classics and in this. And the fact that she kind of retains that even in this skewed world, I was kind of like, yeah, that feels true to the character to me, and I thought that was pretty cool.
You think it's because on his deathbed, George Lucas is going to admit that Leia was actually the chosen one?
Maybe.
That I have a feeling that's going to happen one day. He's just going to be like, yeah, she was the chosen one all along. I've seen theories about that, and I think that kind of tracks, right? That like she's the one that stays constant throughout the whole thing, even in the extended universe.
Yeah,
she's still the one. Luke kind of goes dark.
Yeah.
Oh, can you remember what book? What series? I can't even remember.
Well,
was it Dark Saber? Was it Dark Saber?
She steps way up in like the Dark Nest trilogy later on, but yeah, I think Dark
Yeah,
as well. But yeah. I think that's cool, and I do feel like I mean the sequel trilogies changed what they were doing so many times, but everything I've heard and understood about what the final episode was going to be was Leia kind of stepping up and like ascending to sort of be the last Jedi, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the loss of Carrie Fisher obviously is sad for many, many reasons, but the fact
Oh my gosh, yeah.
never got to see the Leia movie, you know, because we had the Han movie, we had the Luke movie, and like that was meant to be the Leia movie. That is a real tragedy.
Yeah.
Just from a fandom standpoint, let alone the loss of Carrie Fisher, who's, you know, an amazing author, writer, actor, you know. But yeah, it is a bummer. But that to me, I still, you know, seeing Leia getting hit with that music right away, again, it put me right in that like sort of childhood Star Wars vibe.
Yeah. Mine was when Jedi Bob was explaining the truth to the story about how I thought that was very cool, that it kind of put you in the Star Wars you love is actually an abomination of Jedi Bob's universe, which was like one of those, like, you know, I don't know, they did something like that in the video game BioShock, where like you kind of have become part of the game in a way, and it's you who are being brainwashed into doing all of that. Like, so it's like I love situations like that where like you kind of become, or what you know becomes into question.
Yeah.
And that's what this. So I'm like curious, like, okay, well, Disney's not going to totally rewrite the fact that the universe we know now is not. So it brought me to like one of our listeners, a friend of mine, who said he hates it when they do the time stuff,
Oh, sure.
so that they can like do whatever they want. And it's like lazy writing. So now I'm like, oh boy, what are they doing setting this up with? Is this Disney like admitting that like maybe the saga is not actually the saga, it's not the real saga, you know, something like that. Like, you know, I don't know. I just that those thoughts crossed my mind, but I just thought that moment was such a cool moment in the story of like, you know, oh man, all hope is lost, because not only do I know you're not going to be able to restore your galaxy, it's because I can't restore my galaxy. Or they kept saying galaxy, and I feel like they meant like universe maybe, but I guess galaxy because of Star Wars. But that part was like, ooh, I got like pins and needles on the back of my neck. It's like my hair stood on. And I was like, whoa, that's like so cool. Like, what a crazy storyline that like this is Legos.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. But I thought like a story like this can only exist in the Star Wars Lego universe. You can't rebuild the galaxy in the Star Wars saga. It has to be the Lego universe. And it was just like this realization of like, wow, what an epic storyline. And it's in Lego Star Wars. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about O Kavark moments? What was something that you didn't like?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of hit on that a little bit. There was something like last time when we saw the, you know, the good guys that we were expecting to be good being the Sith, you know, Jar Jar and Rose and all that, Rey. I mean, there was something that was kind of cool about that, like when that reveal, even though, you know, you could kind of see it coming a mile away, like there was about that. But I felt like when you see the villains being good guys, it was not cool at all.
No, the Emperor was intolerable.
Yeah.
His character just does not make it, man.
I'm so sick of that Robot Chicken ripoff. But also, I mean, the way they've had Vader and the Emperor act in all of the Lego stuff, they weren't really acting any different than they have the whole.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been actually cool to see the white, like Darth Vader, being cool, you know, to see the Emperor.
Yeah. Being stoic or something,
be
you
cool.
know?
And it was just like, it was all played 100% for laughs, which again, the good guys as Sith was still meant to be kind of an intense moment. And I feel like, I don't know why you missed that opportunity to like actually explore a little bit what it was, because then it wasn't funny either. I mean, it's not like it really.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that really unbalanced the episode for me, was to have that just be an extended bit.
Yeah, it kind of reminded you it was Legos.
Yeah.
Not just Star Wars. You're like, yep.
And I've
right back to that writing.
All the things around it, they've been really able to find this balance just right. So that stood out to me, and I didn't like it. What was yours?
Mine was, and I could not get over that this could have ever passed. Maybe it's just my brain, but when the Han thing where like Han walks off the slave one and Leia's like and then she runs past him and goes to Greedo, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was one of them, but they were like, yeah. Oh no, Han was just like, yeah, Greedo shot his shot first, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't know. I went to a dark place with that line. I don't know if anyone like tested that line out.
Well,
It's
funny,
like,
last time you were talking about how you liked the way they were taking like common sayings in Star Wars and like
yeah,
switching them around a little bit. Like when in this episode when Jar Jar is like, "I was always the Phantom Menace," and I think
yeah.
as like the rebellion strikes back or something like that.
He does. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, this did not land.
This one did not.
Maybe just say that in front of a 17-year-old and see, you know what I mean? Just like run it by and see if that triggers anything. Because yeah, I definitely was like, huh, okay.
It's just because it had to do with like a relationship.
Yes.
And so that kind of directed my brain, and I was like,
yeah.
What? And I had to like rewind. I was like, whoa,
yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way he just said he shot his shot first.
I certainly got the reference, but it played like a double entendre.
A total double entendre. Yeah. And I was sitting there thinking like, I can't remember how I thought, but I was like, they could have said it like this, and that would have been fine.
Yeah.
And it would have still been like, I see what you did there. You kind of like took this, they tried to do it literally, and it just didn't work, and man, that to me, like that pulled me right out of the episode. But
well, it was
yanked me.
I mean, it felt like
it
felt vaguely sexual, but it also the way that he said it, that Greedo shot his shot first. It's just a very uncommon
shot his shot. That's the terminology.
Right.
That's like, yeah, that's maybe if it was like, this is why you got to shoot first.
Yeah.
Like maybe something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, shoot first is not even a Star Wars line. It's a fan line.
Right.
Like Han shot first, or like if you're one of me or a guy like me, I say Han shot only.
Yeah.
Han shot only.
Yeah.
Not first. There's no second.
Yeah.
Boom. He blasts Greedo, and that is it. He cooks him. So yeah, like I don't know. It was just too much, I think. Too much.
I agree. How many yub nubs do you give this one?
I'd probably give it a 4 or 5. I'm still up there. I really liked it, but I think you're right. There were times it's good. I think the story in this one is good, and that's what I wanted to focus on. That like the twisting of the story was really good, but there was a lot of distraction with the silliness of the council. Pretty much everything surrounding the council was silly. Their ship, the planet, everything. And I agree with you. I think there was a noticeable decrease in the tone of the episode as well, right? We kind of go from one thing to the next, but like everything pointed back to the core of the episode. This one was just a lot of distractions. Yeah. So I don't know. What about you? If I have 4 or 5, I think I'm pretty confident with that. I'm still good, but
yeah, I'm in the 3s. I'll say 3.5.
Woo! All right.
Because I mean, you're right. I mean, the things I found it a little dull here and there, a little cumbersome here and there. But you're right. I mean, story wise, it was still holding up. So 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. All right, 4.5, 3.5. Solid average of a 4.
That's true.
I could do math.
Sad that we're gonna be done. I mean, not done with Star Wars Lego. We've got certainly a lot.
Right. Oh yeah.
Or there, but. I'm sad this show is done, and next time we will be back with Rebuild the Galaxy Part 4.
Part 4, the finale.
Yep.
Man, what I was so tempted to watch the last episode after that, like the whole, because I was like, oh man, I gotta know. Yep. What does Disney do? Do they fix everything? Or is it just like, well, this is Rebuild the Galaxy, and then that's it, and everyone's like, whoa.
I think the galaxies are going to be restored, and it's going to be a thing where it's like they can access all of them, like in a Lego game, where you can pull back and see all the different worlds. That's what I think it's going to be.
Oh, kind of like, you know what that reminds me of? All those Power Rangers. They're like all not the same. They're like Power Rangers, but they're not all on Earth. They're all different planets, but it's like a network. Mm-hmm. So maybe they do it something like that like the Jedi and the Sith are like the sentient beings that can exist on every single planet or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something along those lines where all galaxies will exist. That's what I think.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, if you've been with us this far, you have to stay for the very last one. You have to. I guess I'll see you next time.
I'll be there.
This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 902 and Here We Go, 90s Music Got Me Like, and previously on X-Men. Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or X at Endorian Life. And please rate, subscribe, and share this show wherever you get your podcasts.
Chihuahua.